speaking of these dogs, that I've been concerned for a long time about the dogs running wild because they chase deer and they do kill deer. And if a child, they run in packs, and if they come on a child, they're apt to attack that child as a deer. And it's a very dangerous situation. And I've spoken to the commissioners years past about it, and it just still the same.
We'll give an answer to that. We're in the process of doing some research and looking into it, so we'll give you an answer. Yes, sir.
On the dogs, when they drop dogs out at your place all the time, well, is anything to be done about that? Will anybody pick them up if you call them?
You take them to the humane society. Use their tag number.
Well, it gets an ask and question session here. We do have an animal shelter that takes care of these unwanted dogs. So I can give you that number if you'd like that. Let's move along to the next thing on the agenda, talking about Catherine Lane. Do we have Ms. Franklin and family here?
I'm Jane Franklin, and I live with my mother and my brother at 360 Catherine Lane. And I believe we have several other people from our road. I sent some pictures. I hope you gentlemen had a chance to see them. And what I have here is actually from the tax assessor's records. So you can see how, I'm sorry, I don't have it. All of the property owners on Catherine Lane have signed an indenture for easement. It is a private road. The only exception is Miss Debbie Hill, which is highlighted there, if you can tell. It's kind of at the end. She owns just shy of 24 acres. Miss Hill is, your records show she lives in Florida, but she's actually in Hawaii. She's dying of cancer, and she hasn't paid her taxes from last year, so I've tried numerous avenues to try to locate relatives, and I can't get anywhere with it. So we would like for you to consider, I think Mr. Franklin at the last meeting suggested going to her property and doing a turnaround, but to somehow scrape and put gravel on the road. The normal width of a two-lane road is between 20 to 24 feet, and I measured parts of our road today, and we're lucky that we don't have deep ditches because cars continue to encroach on property, and it's well over 27 to 30 feet wide in locations. The potholes, a lot of them are at least 6 inches deep, and it's not a one-lane road, but we have to make it that way to dodge the holes. So,
If we give you an answer by tonight,
we
that'd
would
be
be
soon.
tickled.
Okay.
I went out this afternoon and looked at that road. First of all, let me say, I'm a Franklin, she's a Franklin, and we're not related. We want to get that straight up front. We are not related, okay? But, you know, I'm hoping that we can make a turnaround there, you know, because where it goes on down toward 85, it's just about grown up. I mean, if you had the right of way.
That's actually a driveway to the house that's right there.
Oh,
Look
yes.
about where the pavement starts, that's a driveway on down.
There's
Oh,
a trailer
okay.
back there in the back.
Well, I saw that.
Well, it used to be a part of the road, because even on like some of the county records shows the road going all the way to 85 and kind of turning.
Yeah,
But it's actually just a driveway from the paved part on down.
okay. So we wouldn't work the driveway anyhow.
Well, we have heard that someone is interested in buying Miss Hill's property, and they want to subdivide, which would even increase the traffic.
You know, I'd like for us to work it, if we can see fit, down to Miss Hills, and if we get the paperwork, then, you know, we go on a little more, but I hate these people have to suffer because of one signature at the end of the road.
and you see the little road that turns
It's in
down
bad shape.
across from her, that's the little cul-de-sac that I think Robert Brogdon that just spoke, he lives on. That is paved.
So you say if we were down to the private property there, since we have the easement from there back to Cedar Ridge Road, you'd be happy?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one aspect or one point that we might need to clarify prior to making a decision on Monday, with the acceptance of this road from ditch to ditch into the county road system, with us being constrained by the hill parcel, we are going to have actual deeded right-of-way in order to have a cul-de-sac or a turnaround point here. So taking this on and be able to maintain it long-term potentially could be contingent on having adequate right-of-way, at least at this point where the portion of road that we're looking at accepting is going to terminate. Because even our county forces, et cetera, are gonna have to be able to go down here and turn around because they cannot further encroach on private property.
I understand. And that's something we
Would we
want.
necessarily have to have a cul-de-sac, because the road doesn't end, it's just our maintenance ends there?
If I may interject for just a moment, I have lived on Catherine Way for 15 years now. When I bought my home, it was one of the first homes out on Catherine Way, which is the paved road, just so everybody is clear on that. We were informed when we bought the home that the county would be taking over that road, the dirt road. I've had many meetings with the commissioners to try to get that taken care of over the last 15 years. The problem now is that not only are the residents on Catherine Way or Catherine Lane affected, we're also affected. The school bus will no longer travel the road. The mailman has said that he will not do it much longer because it's just too dangerous for him to come down our road.
I've looked at it and I would concur with everything that y'all
I mean, I
said.
think that you can understand the danger
Absolutely.
that is there. Miss Hill has never been a resident there. I've been there, like I say, 15 years. I realize that she owns property there. She's never been a resident, and to my knowledge, she's never even visited that property. I actually had that property listed for her about 5 years ago to sell, and she had never even seen the property. So, you know, I understand where we are with Miss Hill,
Absolutely.
but that just really puts all of us in a bind, and there are almost 20 families out there now.
And what I'm stating would not even be, I guess what you would say, relegated to any action by Ms. Hill.
In addition, we have had county maintenance on that road until, I think about 2 years ago. So it had never been a problem before. We had to come in front of the commissioners one time before,
We got a
to get some
temporary
temporary
easement.
stuff signed. I was the lead work on that, did all the legwork. It's just becoming a bigger issue. I cannot sell my property because of the problem that we have on the road. Yeah, I mean, I can barely drive my car.
And there is a cul-de-sac at the end of the paved part, so it's not very far for somebody to go down and turn around and come back out instead of putting the cul-de-sac at the paved part.
I understand that this is a problem that you guys have inherited.
Just a point that we need to consider.
I appreciate that. We'll give you an answer Monday night.
Thank you.
Last Friday night, a week ago, you know, after we had had all that good rain, and that road was soapy, muddy, nasty, we had this gentleman come down through there. I don't know what he had to drink or to take, but he was driving so fast that he hit a mud hole, and then one of the trees in our front yard had to stop the dear man.
Let's talk about another road. Bear Creek Road. Do we have much to pick up?
I'm Russ McDuffie. I live on between G Road and Grady School Road. I live on the south side. Lived there 54 years. I'm like everybody else who lives on the dirt road. I'm sick of the dirty cars, the rattling cars because of and y'all do a great job trying to keep it up with the weather and the drunk drivers and the stairs that but I just tar and gravel, we don't want nothing fancy on the road, it's paved on, the tar and gravel on the other end. They have small business down there, van conversions, they paid part of that in, they never come on through with it. My daughter is wanting to build a house, she got married last year, and she says she's not living on the dirt road anymore, I want her to live on my farm. So that's the main reason I'm here.
Quick question, how much distance are we talking about here between the two pavers?
How much distance? Mile. And then on my part, you can go any way you want to, I don't care, just as long as, see, I live where the big curve is.
Yes.
So everybody comes through it and thinks they're on the racetrack. Y'all put gravel out, a week later, it's all in the yard. That's all I got to say. I'm just like everybody else. I'm sick of the dogs and the cats that out. They don't do that on asphalt roads. They do it only on dirt roads. I took one Friday morning to Pam, somebody threw it out, started there. But that's just, I just want a better road for my daughter, so she'll live on my farm.
That ain't personal.
That ain't personal.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that comment. Now let's talk about the Masonic Lodge. Anybody? Have a seat.
I'm Adam Blakely, I'm the Master of Ladone Masonic Lodge. I went ahead and printed off a few little pictures for y'all. As you know, y'all are building the new Station 2 EMS building in Ladone. And something that has been a tradition with the Masonic Lodges over the years is laying cornerstone. The front page of the material handed you is just a rough copy of what could potentially be on the cornerstone for the EMS station. The next two pages are pictures of the cornerstone that was placed on the new City Hall in Ladone, in Hartwell. And what we would like to do is to basically get permission from the Board of Commissioners to be able to get with the Grand Lodge of Georgia to get a cornerstone made and placed on the new EMS building.
You talking about on the building itself?
It'll be on the building, it'll be set inside the brick. On the front. We were provided by just one front elevation of the building, and it was the front right corner. And as you can see on the front page, where we put all the names of commissioners, everybody that was involved with the construction of it, as well as information about who the Grandmaster is, or Masons for Georgia for that year. And this is something that we provide free of charge. And the lodges have been doing this for a very long time. And it's something we would like to do on that new EMS building.
Appreciate that. We'll certainly take all this into consideration.
Okay.
And be prepared to try to give you out some money.
Okay. Yeah. Any
Any
questions?
questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Let's go into our overtime for patrolling our schools. Mr. Lee Cole.
Directed by the sheriff to come before you and to certainly present to you a proposal that we have as upcoming issues that we foresee. And certainly this issue arises from our budget. And certainly the consideration would be to increase our budget for a full-time school resource officer. And that, certainly that officer would be positioned at the Central Elementary School on Longer Road. Currently, that's the only school that we do not have a school resource located. Certainly, Commissioners, we would ask that if you have any suggestions, we would certainly value those. You may have questions at the end of this presentment, and certainly I hope I'm able to answer those for you. If not, then certainly I'll research it too, like this answer. I would also like to inform you that we're not looking for an answer today. We feel like that in order to prepare you, certainly the taxpayers of this county, that we should provide you with utmost information we can make a decision. Mr. Speaker, I would love to go over the dollar and the reason for the dollar figures that we're seeing, and certainly provide you with a brief of how and why. As I told you earlier, our school resource office program started in 2005. Was very fortunate to have two officers, one at the middle school and one at the high school. In our recent national tragedy that occurred back in mid-December, the sheriff felt like that it was a necessity to begin some more security things in our local school. So he decided to insert a uniform officer at the Central Franklin. That officer there is costing us overtime. That officer works every day, is on overtime. Certainly we feel like we'll be spending that overtime when we could be using it, certainly for the position of a full-time officer. If we use the correct rate, that adjacent school resource officer and the number of hours that he or she would work in just a regular hire without overtime, we would look at roughly about $21,000 to the end of the school period. If we continue to pay our overtime, we're going to exceed the $30,000 mark in overtime. The factor is that even though the sheriff is inserting one officer, on a lot of occasions we're actually inserting two officers. One officer is usually used as what the sheriff has named a floating officer. Goes throughout the school system. With that inserted officer, we're covering all of our schools in Cartersville. That includes both elementary schools, the middle school, and the high school. To my knowledge, and speaking directly with the sheriff, the cities are electing to do their own, with their own resources, their own budget, so that's something that we won't have to do. Of course, the sheriff has offered his assistance to the cities that wants to start the program. So even that we're seeing that big difference in the margin of the straight hire and the overtime, the sheriff is looking to the point of where that activity of this overtime is going to cost us way more than we can actually hire an employee.
Now, that 21,000 to the end of the year, that doesn't include car, benefits, insurance, retirement?
Mr. Harper, no.
Okay.
I spoke directly to the sheriff about a vehicle and his equipment. The sheriff and us at the sheriff's office is certainly looking at avenues, could we use surplus property? Do we have to purchase a new car? And no, sir, that is not acting.
So it would be much more when you put in the benefit package on a new hire?
Yes, sir.
Why couldn't, I know many universities or many colleges, they use off-duty officers to do that, and they pay them. I know a guy that actually does it up at a small college above Commerce, and they pay him like straight $15 an hour. They have no benefits that he offers, it just straight $15 an hour, and he is a a certified peace officer. Why couldn't you do that?
We have discussed that, and certainly we have looked at that. As far as the answer, I don't think many sheriffs actually discussed the answer to it. I know the reason, in my opinion, would be, Mr. Carpenter, would be that you're relying upon this officer, if we hired him, to be another resource for somewhere else. So what I'm saying, after the school year, where he or she could be inserted or be used. That would probably be the only thing Mr. Harper would extract my mind, using it after the fact. But yes, that might be an avenue that we could use.
Well, I know me, and even, you know, being in an elementary school, he wouldn't have the same responsibilities as a high school or a middle school. You don't have that kind of problems. So I see that as a very viable option.
And certainly that may be something that we certainly want to research and just see, put it out there and see what kind of replies we can get. I would tell you from the applications that we have on file, it's just, we just don't have that many that come forward that wants that job.
I can talk to some colleges. I don't think they have any problem getting people. They'll use one officer one day or maybe 2 days in a row, and then, because most officers are on a rotating shift, and I don't think that this particular college, I don't think they have any problem. In fact, they have a lot of people apply for it. I think they use mainly Commerce Police Department, and just out of that one police department, they get all the help they need.
And that's something that, yes, that would be a suggestion certainly that we may need to discuss.
Talking with Dr. Odell, I'd like to commend Sheriff Department and school superintendent for getting right on with that.
Has the school board, are they gonna help out with this, or?
In talking with the sheriff, Mr. Harper, from my understanding, the sheriff and Dr. O'Dell are in communication. They haven't come out and pledged a supplement to our budget. They're reviewing that, and certainly I hope that that is a fact, that it can come true, that maybe the school system can help us. Also, I'd love for you to certainly to understand, and it goes back to what you were saying, Mr. Harper, we've actually took our budget, and you have to, I'm new at this, and I'm having to learn a new trick. We have went through our budget to attempt to find anywhere that we could cut. As of right now, speaking to each of you, I see nowhere that we can cut. And of course, we hope in the Board of Education is one of something that does in some way. We do believe that the next fiscal year, that there will be some federal or even state money available that we can apply for some grants. The issue is going to come back is we know this money probably won't be available at the end of 2013 or 2014. So by the time we do the application process, we're looking at probably in 2014 before we can get on board with any kind of money that will actually come back to the county.
And that couldn't be counted on beyond just the initial year of allocation.
That's true. So, like I say, when the sheriff began inserting this officer, he knew that there was going to be an issue with overtime. And he knew that if we continued to spend, certainly we was going to overspend our budget. And he felt like that we needed to come before you and provide you with that information. If possible, Mr. Harper, I would love to sit down. I think y'all have a meeting by, I think, next Monday.
Right.
I would love to submit to y'all, when the sheriff gets back, something in real numbers that you can look at. I would submit something that Mr. Harper was talking about. If that's something feasible, we can do. I'm not sure. And that's something that we probably need to look at to see which direction that we need to go.
We appreciate the proactive stance that y'all have taken, and the information that you have just stated would be tremendous in, helping us formulate a decision.
We sure do appreciate your work, dedication, and we'll certainly look at all options.
Yes, sir. And if I can, what time's the meeting Monday?
6.
so could I actually maybe put something together and give it to Mr. Morris, maybe he could follow that to y'all Monday?
You could actually get on the agenda and present it.
That might be the best thing.
Anything you have ahead of time, we'll be glad to share it with you, go ahead of time.
And anything that you put together prior to give us time for review would be great.
I think we need to look at really some numbers. Even though I've juggled numbers for several days, it's not really, because you can't get it up. Would that not be feasible? That's all I have.
Well, I would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Could I,
Yes. Just something, I'm not a member of any sheriff's organization or anything like that, but any ongoing cases don't get talked about by people outside of the sheriff's community, the police department community. And if you hired somebody as a security guard, that's what you'd be doing if you hired a individual. There's certain things that they can be told or they can't be told.
When you do a hire like I was talking about, he is a certified peace officer. He carries a gun, he is a police officer.
I just hate to think that something was going on that
He's just as
officers would
qualified,
know about. and
just
that
as
information they can
qualified
share.
as
Okay.
anybody else.
I'm a retired police officer from Athens, and I would be willing to volunteer a day or so a week at a school. I was a supervisor, I was there 25 years. So I'm a certified police officer, and I'd be willing to volunteer
Are you
some
still
of my time.
certified?
I'd have to go to a 20-hour school probably to get recertified, because I've been retired for a while.
That'd be awesome.
But I'd be
Appreciate that comment. If you'll
What's your name,
please
sir?
leave out-
Harold Pritchett. Pritchett, Harold Pritchett.
Harold.
Yeah.
My brother was over there, Terry Strickland, I don't know if you knew him.
Oh, yeah, I know Terry, yeah.
Mr. Bridges, that was my comment on retired policemen.
Pardon me?
I wrote it down.
Good. That's what helps us
We
to
would,
give us.
we would definitely want them post-certified where they can carry a gun.
Absolutely.
That's been trending in a lot of cities and counties due to the same budgetary constraints that we're facing is an option.
Okay, let's move into the Rose Springs water line. Duke?
Yes, sir. This is another package of water lines that we would like for consideration. We have provided you with a recommendation memo and a bid tabulation sheet for what we're calling the Bowling Spring Area Water Line Project. We did bid this out, had several bids. The low bidder was Stratton & Sons Construction in the amount of $568,304. The Bowling Spring project includes the installation of water lines on State Route 326 from Bowling Spring Road to the existing water line on State Route 51. It also includes Rock Pillar Road and Bowling Spring Church Road. So we would like your consideration of this, hopefully at your meeting on Monday night. Be glad to answer any questions that you might have. The low bidder is here, Mr. Stratton is here if you have any questions about the project.
Commissioners, do we have any questions about accepting the low bid?
The only question I had was just looking through the bid tabs on item 0040 Graston. Gary, if you looked at that real close, it's basically you have a total of $3,108. There's a significant amount of acreage, and I'm just concerned in making sure there was no oversight in that particular bid item tab, because erosion control is very, very critical. I just want to make sure there wasn't an oversight in looking at the other. Okay. Gotcha.
Any other questions?
My question is, traffic control. If we run, I want to address this to Billy, if we run into issues with traffic control, what can the county do about that?
Basically, there are two things in the contract that allow us to be involved. If there are safety-related issues, we can actually step in if the county needs to take over safety control. We can do that and pass that cost along to the contractor. You also have a clause in the contract for termination of the contract. You can
terminate the contract for failure to meet the commitments that have been made. I think those are the two steps.
What criteria is in the contract on traffic control?
Basically, there's a manual called the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and that's what we are requiring that the contractor use to adhere to those traffic control.
Okay. Would that be any problem as far as this contract is concerned, with you meeting the traffic control criteria?
It's not for me. Any other questions? All right, Will.
There's a part two to this discussion, if you don't mind. With this project, their prices were good on these bids. We still have money left over to do another water line package. Tentatively, before the commission, the previous commission had approved a group of roads that would get water lines, and I provided those with you, in my email to you. We would like to start moving on to the next package of roads. We really need y'all's okay, blessing, approval for us to start the work of engineering, submitting to the state for approval, that sort of thing. So we'd like to see if you would consider that at this time.
Yeah, this priority list was based on the number of residences, the amount of potential taps, et cetera. Also included in that formula was poultry farms, et cetera, on the roadways. And just for public information, the roads are Brays Lake Road, Higginbotham Road, State Route 106 from Higginbotham Road to Carytown, and plus Shackelford, provided we have additional funding if these are the roads that are selected.
We should be ready on Monday.
Absolutely. I mean, these were prioritized based on the established criteria.
That's right, this was a previous priority list.
And then it should be duly noted that our county forces are also working in between all the maintenance and meter reading, et cetera,
Yes.
on installation of, new water mains.
That's correct.
So we're working diligently to expand the water infrastructure.
So we'll be ready to deal with that.
Sounds great, thank you, sir.
RCD update.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Frank Riley. I'm the Executive Director of the Chattahoochee RC&D Council. Those of you who are familiar with it know what we used to be, what we have been. And this, y'all can do this when you get time. The first page, these are some newspaper articles I've been writing for all 13 counties we work in. So far, they're just kind of filtering out. I'm not sure how many they've got out yet, but there's 5 copies here, 5 different articles. And the first one I started out with was saying who we are, and what our goal, our mission is, what we're supposed to be doing. And a little history, up until last year, we were federally funded. RC&D started in 1962 under the USDA by an act of Congress, and then they were also, the NRCS was integrated into it until last year. So the government, all they did was pull the funding out, all the people, all the equipment out, and left these 375 nonprofits hanging. 375 of us in the United States and 11 in Georgia. And you can look at some of the stuff that's done. It's some history, some really good stuff they've done in the past, but that's in the past. This is now we got to install. So they hired me to try to take over. Angela is one of my executive board members. That's 6 board members. There's 2 council members from each county. Y'all got 2. Every soil and water conservation district has 2 members, and that makes up our council. We have 5 soil and water conservation districts that I go to. Each one of them has two members in our council. We'll have our first quarterly meeting in March 18th. Y'all get a notice on that. We're gonna be in Franklin County, Fife County, excuse me. And, we're gonna have an election of officers that day. We're up one more for election. If you read through this, you'll see what we are, what we focus on. You'll see what we've done in the past. One thing we've done in the past, and y'all familiar, I live in Hiawassee, Towns County. Georgia Mountain Fair and the rhododendron garden was an RC&D project. And look at the plaque, it says RC&D project. They did that in the 80s. Some of it, the fair was done in the 70s, so that's the stuff we've done in the past. What we've got going now, there's a page in here about that, is we've got 319 EPD grants working. One is in Mud Creek, Lower Mud Creek in Habersham County. Done some really good things there. I've just come in on the end of it, extended it. We've done some stream crossings, some fencing the cattle out of the creeks, water troughs. One guy did solar panels on his cattle house, a barn, and a rain barrel. And he waters cattle with all the electricity and all his pumps that he has to have on the solar panels. And this was all a grant from the EPD, from the EPD 319 grant. The next one we got is gonna be in Coldwater Creek in Hart and Elbert County, and we haven't signed anybody up yet, but we're looking for and the possibility here, if it's, we're gonna apply for another next year. If funding is there, so we'll be looking for some projects. So if you guys have a project, we're doing that, we're open for it. Anybody that gets up to me on that, we'll put it in the hopper. We've done, like I said, we got one more that hasn't been signed yet. It's in White County, Town Creek, it's below the sewage plant there. We've got some problems with water flow. We're working on getting that one funded so we can start out there. There's another page in here about what's coming up here in this county. We've put together a disaster preparedness workshop, and there's some points out here. And we're gonna have the very first one right here in Franklin County. So we'll talk about food safety issues, fresh water, how to store non-perishable food, and we'll bring in the local officials to talk about it, so that people know when the tornado comes, what you do, and after it hits, what you do. Who you call, what can we expect? We plan to do one of those in all 13 counties that we serve. And we serve 13 counties north of Georgia, same as the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission County, that's the area. So that preparedness will be February 26th, will be right here.
Hey, what's the date?
February 26th.
February 26th.
All right, it's gonna be at 10 o'clock at the Recreation Department. And we just put this agenda together today, so it's brand new, but it's something back here about some Angela's talking about. Angela was one of the idea person behind this. There's another page in here. One thing I'm trying to do with newspaper articles is to serve our people, is to have an information page. And it's hit real big. When I started, I went to my local editor in Union County and told Charles I wanted to write articles. You want to call him? I said, sure. Good idea at the time, but every week I said, well, people, so far. So we're going to try to have an information source so people can read it and know, hey, this is a program I didn't know about. There's an equip program out now from NRCS. It's got 4-week window. Closed in 2 more weeks. And it's just kind of popped up, and if you're not in the loop, you don't know about this stuff. So I'm putting that in here so people, the farmers know it's got greenhouses. There's a greenhouse you can get pretty well all funded for this stuff. Some longleaf pines, some energy stuff, and it's there just to go ask, go sign it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm gonna have an article every week, spotlight something. We'll do the farm bill this week and what they've done to kick it down the road for another 6 or 8 months or 9 months, and we'll like something about that. And one thing I just found out today is we do the energy audits on chicken house. We've been doing that. We haven't had any lately. It comes from the Rural Development Grant for the University of Georgia. I went down back in the fall and I became certified to do energy audit. I didn't know it was complicated to run a chicken house. I never knew anything about it. But there were 80 people from all over the world there at this conference, and spent 4 days learning how to do it. So I found out today the NRCS is going to require energy audit for the chicken houses on the EQIP grants we got coming out. They're going to require it, and they're not going to do it, so we'll do it. So when when it comes along, we're qualified to do energy audits, and it'll help farming plus if we need EQIP.
We have quite a few chicken houses, so it sounds like it might be busy.
So, because, I mean, what we've done now, basically, we're sitting here, we've got an office in Denver, we've got staff, not a big staff, 2 offices, but, we're trying to keep this going, but other RTD is making money hand over fist. But they kept the no-till drill, and they kept the road striping machine. We don't, unfortunately, we don't have that option now. But if you guys have a need, I've talked to Billy about some things a couple of times, and I haven't found a source for it yet, by the way. That we can do with some grant, you want somebody to administer, we have the expertise to do it, we can find it. So that's what we're here for. I'm a forester by trade, I've been there for 42 years. So if you got any kind of issues on water or forestry or natural resources,
Is the grant administration that you just referenced, is that a service provided free of charge to the counties?
Let's say if you get the right grant, they have admin money in there, and that's how we live. Yeah, we can't do it for nothing. We're gonna do something for nothing. We have to. That's how we have to serve our community. You gotta crawl before you can walk with this thing. So we'll do a lot of that free stuff. And then if they have admin money, like the 319 grants, got money, have money in there that we can actually, use for administration. We farmed out 2 of these grants before I came to the Georgia Mountain Regional Commission. They're actually doing the work because the money flows through us to them. And then I get cheated on by the farmers and I don't know anything about because I wasn't out there. So I'm starting to go out. I'm hands-on. I'm gonna do the water sampling. I'm gonna do all the farmer handshaking and taking the checks. So we're gonna be a full service. Appreciate that.
Any questions?
Got my card, if you want to come up, please give me a call. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next item here is, talk a little bit about health insurance for our employees.
What I did was we met on Thursday the 24th at 4:30 up at the courthouse. I had Sheriff Stevie Thomas, had Bert Missy, and then I had Tax Commissioner Bobby Martin, the 911 Director James Beasley, and the Maintenance Director was Lyndon Burgess and myself. Basically, the first thing I did was ask them what they thought about the existing coverage, and nobody was really too pleased with it. Several of them were very displeased. But the main thing is what we're looking at is our cost is running about $500 an employee, which is $6,000 a year. I had asked Elaine if she would to get me some information. Being a new commissioner, we just wanted to try to look at everything that we could. And one thing that I've done with some groups is to be able to take some employees, and in doing so, we offer is just you get options. And basically what I did was I took some guinea pigs and asked them some certain questions, and with that was able to get something comparable to what we currently have. And what I was thinking is that we could offer employees a $2 an hour to go out and they purchase their own health coverage. Now, with the health insurance costing roughly $6,000, and in July when we get our increase, I'm sure that it's probably going to cost us more than $6,000. It doesn't go down. With that, if we take, just for an average, a 40-year-old male, basically with the identical coverage, actually the plan's a little bit better. Basically the cost is about $250. Well, that's half of what we're paying for the employee cost. And in doing so, with that, that's about $380-something a month, whereas it's $250 for the insurance. That employee could go out They don't have to get a Cadillac plan like what this is. They could go out and get something else, but they have to go get it, okay? And in doing so with that, a big concern that the people at the meeting that I've asked to be there, was, well, what you're doing is taking all the healthy and leaving all the unhealthy. And I said, well, basically, in a sense, well, there's people out there that have pre-existing conditions that cannot get health coverage. That was a concern, but at the same time, it's just like, well, we shouldn't be penalized for people who are not healthy. With that, was trying to think if, Missy, if you and Bobby want to come up and hear and iterate since y'all were there.
Well, I would, I mean, I think it's important that we do offer our employees insurance. Are there any other options that's what I would be looking at is, because, I mean, let's face it, health insurance is getting higher, coverage is getting worse. You go out in the general public, you go into companies, you'll see that health care is not what it used to be. And it's going to have to eventually affect the employees of Franklin County also. But I think it's important that we do provide health care coverage for our employees. I know that's, you know, $2 an hour that's thinking outside the box, in which, you know, that's a good thing. But I think if any way possible that we need to provide health care, I think we get a better rate.
Well, you are providing indirectly. I mean, you go from A to B to C, because with this right here, what you wind up doing is they have to go out, if they get the $2 an hour or $1.50 or whatever it is, they have to go out and get health coverage. So they have health coverage, and we're actually providing it for them by them taking that, okay?
And I understand.
And in doing so, then when you wind up doing that, you're looking at $6,000 basically for the cost, all right? This way, you're looking at a little over $4,100, which basically is right at $1,860 a year savings for the county. And if only 20% of them did that, you're talking about $60,000. That's just 20% of the employees doing that. $60,000 is a lot of money, and what we have to do is find ways to be better stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. And
David, I know that you were also going to look at some of the ramifications of Obamacare, and my next question, you kind of segued into it, is Obamacare going to mandate us as a county? I know it will for employers having over 50 employees. Will we be subject to the same mandates to provide insurance coverage as?
Well, the thing is, what others, like I've got one group I was talking to, and they've got about 2,500 employees. And what they're doing is they're coming in, and just like with this, they're looking at other alternatives to do. Because nobody knows what Obamacare is really going to be until you actually get there. And with this, with groups, what they wind up doing is you have to have, like, say, 75 or 80% participation rate in order to do the health coverage, okay? Well, if we've got 120 employees, and there's several, I understand, that basically have coverage through their spouse that are employees, if I'm not mistaken. But in doing so, those people aren't classified within the participation requirements. So if these people have their own health care, okay, then they're actually not classified within our participation rate, which basically should not be as far as with the other by having their own. We don't know until we get to that point, because our renewal is July the 1st. In doing so, we're only 6 months away from when actually Obamacare actually kicks in, which is January of this time next year. And And with that, we're paying, the monthly premium is about almost $82,000 a month. I've actually even talked with Billy because of his situation and just showed him how, with his case, he could save almost $1,800. You know, and that's just doing one little simple thing. And the main thing is we look out after our county employees, but what we try to do is maybe try to kill a couple of birds at one time, because I noticed there's deputies, I noticed there's EMS, and there's all down through there where people are only making $11 an hour. And the thing is, with that, we have to be able to look after them properly, because other options are where employers are coming in and making or taking it out of the employee's check, because they're having to divvy up, because it's required by law that we pay 50% of the employee's cost. Now, if the employee had to pay 50%, lo and behold, they're almost paying $250, you know, it'd be $125 pay period. Now, I know they can't afford that with making what they are. So what we have to do is we can come in here, give them X amount of dollars, because like I say, I just kind of just try to think outside the box, because if you stay inside the box, you got four walls holding you in.
One question that I would have is, you had mentioned a while ago about employees with pre-existing conditions. Okay, let's just say that there are 20% of the county employees that opt and take the additional hourly subsidy, we'll call it supplement. Then with what you have remaining, you're probably going to have a higher risk group. Obamacare mandates that pre-existing conditions be covered, and the way, and you know this better than anybody in here, but the way that insurance rates are established, in particular, if you're utilizing a company year after year, they're going to go back and look at how much they had to spend to cover that group versus what the rates are, and that's how their rate increases are based. So my only concern is that as we decrease some of the ones that opt out, we're going to have a smaller pool of people, and with pre-existing conditions and other illnesses, because they cannot go out and get a private policy. And I'm just afraid that those rates are going to skyrocket to the point where, you know, I don't know if it's manageable. And I commend you. We've got to look at every available option.
Let me tell you this, because that was one of the major concerns that they had as well. But it's like I had a group, and this was probably about 8 years ago, it was about $400 a month is what they were paying. It's like I came in and we were able to get it to them for $389, but what we did was, out of that 50-man group, we took basically 15 employees, put them over here and did what we're talking about, that were under the age of 65. We had 10 people who were over the age of 65, because people over the age of 65 is where a lot of the costs may come from, okay? We took them over there and basically got them a Medicare supplement. Now, with that, they had primary as their Medicare, had their supplement, and basically it cost the employer only $200 versus the roughly $400. Today, that group is basically right under $500 a month. But you wind up with groups. The life expectancy of a group with one place is roughly 3 to 4 years. If they're more than that, they're paying a whole lot more, so you wind up going from this one to this one to this one. And you're not staying with the same one over and over and over, because I've had people call me, like up in Rabun County, that saw my ad in the Mag Hometown Neighbor, that basically, you know, my rate's going to $950 a month. I'm 64 years old. How can you do it for $325? And my first response is, well, ma'am, I would probably say you've been with that company for a long time. And when you continue to get rate increase after rate increase after rate increase, then that's what's going to happen, exactly what you're saying. But it's like health insurance is basically a game. It's one of the largest things bills that an employer, that workers' comp will pay other than their salaries. Okay? And when you wind up doing that, then basically you're moving. And one or two of them says, well, you know, nobody else would write us. And I said, well, I kind of say that's your own fault by thinking that, because it seems like in this county they've gone out to go, well, that's just,
They wouldn't.
well, how many people did we?
How many did we contact with her? We had such large claims. We had such large claims that everybody else, we couldn't afford the insurance. Y'all, I mean, y'all was present.
But the thing is, I've never had a group that I have not ever been able to place.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're walking a real close line right there. You know.
Well, we're just exploring all of our
That's
options.
what we're trying to do, all
Laying
community
on the
lines, except trying to find money to save, because this county, you know, is.
We've got to get the curve under control. We
Yeah.
cannot
But I think we
continue.
need to get, I think we need to have our insurance people here. You know, when we have another meeting, I think they need to be present.
Agree.
You know, I think we need to have all the players here, not just, you know, a few
The insurance
players.
people are not gonna make a hill of beans of difference about what's going to be going on, because they're going to give you your rate May 1st, and that's what it's going to be.
Right, but they can tell us kind of what track we're on.
All you gotta do is get your loss ratios. We don't have to have anybody to tell us something that we can see.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
We need to be
Yeah.
real
I'm
cautious
not like,
about.
I don't think any options off the table. This is a critical issue.
Right.
We're not
And then
gonna
also
solve it
we
tonight.
And we were real concerned, like you said, you take the healthy people out, and I'm not an insurance person, but, you know, common sense, you take the healthy people out and they go get their own policy, you leave the sick folk with the company that we have to pretty much take because of the claims we've had. I mean, after a year or two or three, where all you've got is claims in this group that you've got to keep in this group, they're gonna have to go up because there's no offset.
But they go up anyway.
I came to the front to say exactly what Commissioner Jake said, and I think he said it very well. If you take your younger, healthier people out of that pool, and we sat through, Missy and I, and the department head sat through multiple insurance meetings last year with the brokers, and it's a profit loss thing, but they're balancing it out. We had some large claims, so our premiums is going up. If you amplify that by removing that healthier group of people, it only makes sense that those premiums are going down.
Well, they can only go up so much. And
What's the cap?
I couldn't tell you exactly, but basically when you max rate a group, it's about 60%.
Well, 60% is a whole lot.
Well, the
One
thing
year.
is, when you save $150,000, you're gonna get a rate increase anyway. You're going to have to really wind up, because what you're trying to do is pick out future numbers, where what we're talking about is basically actual dollar figures right now, because you don't know what's going to happen 6 months later after Obama.
Well, I mean, I'm sure, you know, it may save the county money, but, you know, at what cost?
We got plenty of time to flesh it all out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we said, you know, after we left the meeting, we and we told David, you know, we want all the players. We didn't have, some of the constitutional officers weren't invited. You know, I know Cody wasn't there, Ken wasn't there. You know, so we didn't have everybody there for input. And I mean, I think, I mean, I think we need to have as much information as we can have from, you know, Athens, who we have now, whoever, like we did before. We all met, we had different groups come and propose things to us, you know, and we do have some time, and it's great that we're getting started early.
Well, and, you know, we need to understand, in healthcare, the premiums are gonna get higher, and your coverage is gonna get less. I mean,
Oh, yeah. And I
there's
think
no-
everybody
nothing we
knows
can do
that.
that.
We got the most coverage that, you know, the county, they worked it out and they got the most coverage they could for the employees for the money. I mean, I think everybody understood that. It's-
Look at becoming self-insured with other counties. I mean, we've just got to explore
And
every
that's something they
viable
talked
option.
about last year, you know, the group we're with now, the broker or whatever we're with now, talked about, you know, looking at other counties.
The larger your pool, typically, the better rate you get overall and the better coefficient you have.
And they even talked about, you know, the Gainesville group.
Right.
because they're, I think, from the Gainesville area.
And, you know, we're looking at going direct, not having an administrator of our health plan, because you're looking at an average of 10% administration cost.
Right.
If we can circumvent that, then we have an immediate
That's
savings.
exactly
So,
right.
David, I applaud you for it, you know.
And then also, we're talking with, I'm gonna be meeting next week with the guy with the ACCG, because they have an offer for the counties as well.
Tremendous.
Well, let's keep this going. Appreciate the committee working on it, and I think in the end, we'll come up with something that's beneficial to everyone.
Right, that's what we need to do.
All
All
right.
right, thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
Next on the list is natural gas, and we've had a meeting with Royston, and I'll let Clint Harper.
We did have our first meeting, and we talked with Royston. They've got a couple of projects that we looked at. I think they were a little excess of $1 million projects. But there's still a long way to go. We've got to figure out how we're going to get funding for this. We've talked about several options, and looking forward to meeting with them again.
Good. Okay, Billy, what, we got with the joint development committee?
Yes, sir. You've got two board members whose terms have expired on the Joint Development Authority in Stevens, Franklin, Hart counties. Ralph Owens and Carrie Bennett are the individuals whose terms have expired. Both of those individuals have expressed interest in being reappointed. We have announced these vacancies and advertised these vacancies, and no one came forward with an interest in it. So that's where we stand.
Billy, just for those in attendance that might not be familiar with the Joint Development Authority, could you please clarify just very briefly
What they do,
what that
they are.
entails?
Yeah. They are, they're a tri-county, Hart, Stevens, Franklin counties, two, I think there's two.
That's correct.
Two from each county sit on this board, and they work on, meet monthly, quarterly, that sort of thing, and they work on joint development projects. They work together to bring industrial prospects into this area. They may not always come into Franklin County, but folks from Franklin County can work at an industry that may go in Stevens County, or it may come in Franklin County and folks from Hart County could work there. So that's why they work together, and that's, I guess, in a nutshell what they do.
I mean, Gateway would be one of their
Gateway Park, that's
prime
right.
areas of responsibility.
That's correct.
So we'll be prepared then to make the proposal for the two people that decide to take that on Monday night.
Good deal.
All right, Behavioral Health Board.
Yes, this is another board. We have a vacancy on this board, one vacancy. We have announced and advertised the vacancy. No one has shown any interest in being on this board, so we don't have anybody that is interested in being on this board.
Are we mandated, Billy?
I don't know if you're mandated. This is a board that I guess we really didn't know existed until they called us one day and said, hey, there's a vacancy,
What is the behavioral health board do?
Policies and procedures.
For the state, it's a state board. They're a board of this department of the state, and they're regionalized. And we would have a Franklin County representative on that regional state board. And they do just what Commissioner Jake said, policies and procedures for the department, make recommendations and that sort of thing. And I think you have to go to Ball Ground, Georgia. I think that's where the meetings are. And I think that's why the current, or the...
Over in Madison County?
No, that's in Cherokee or yeah, that area, Alpharetta area.
Part of there.
Yeah.
Madison.
And so I think that's part of the problem, is that folks have to travel.
Right. If we have anyone interested in that, please stick with it.
Please do.
Now, we've been addressing the issues that the grand jury issued. I would comment on that.
Well, that's, they're basically, the way I see it, there are 5 things that the grand jury recommended we do. We have met with the sheriff, I think, to talk about the jail expansion. He also asked for 2 part-time deputies and a full-time investigator. I don't remember specifically if we talked about that at our planning meeting or not, but that is the grand jury is recommending that we fund those positions. They are also recommending that we do an RFP for auditors, and that the chairperson and one other board member of this board be available to meet with the grand jury, to answer questions, that sort of thing. So,
Okay, we want to be prepared to give a response to each one of those requests with the grand jury, recommendations that the grand jury made. So we'll keep working into that.
okay?
Financial report?
Yes, sir. And I do have, for those in the audience, that we do have some copies of the financial report up there if you want to follow along, that sort of thing.
Can I get one thing
Yes, sir.
before we move on?
Yes.
As far as the grand jury requesting the chairperson and another board member,
Right.
we had no problem with that, but if they could give us some advance notification. The last several years, when they have contacted us, it's been basically within about an hour of the time. And please, I mean, we want to attend, but would like to have some advance notification between all of us. We can definitely schedule.
Well, and I go before the grand jury each term, each 6 months, I go before them, and they call me 2 weeks ahead of time and say, hey, does this work for you? How does Wednesday afternoon sound? Well, it sounds great. So I don't know why y'all couldn't get the same courtesy.
I think what's happened in the past, we have not basically been an agenda type item. It was just a decision that was made that, okay, we'd like to have some board members. And we don't mind and yet look forward to the opportunity, but just if we could get some advance notification.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Good point, yeah.
Actually, I think with the new district attorney, we will not be going before the grand jury every term, because we do not have to by law. They've just been doing it we've been going every term. So we kind of talked to them, and I don't think the constitutional officers and elected officials will be going every term.
If and when they do, if we could just have some.
Well, I think the grand jury just had some concerns that they didn't get answers for, and that's why they wanted 2 commissioners, because they didn't get the answers they wanted or whatever. So that was just something they did at this last term. It's not something they normally do.
I know the last 2 or 3 years that we have received calls, we need you here in an hour.
Well, I don't think he looked at the law, because we've just kind of been discussing, because we got grand jury coming up, a new grand jury in March. Right. And I don't think that, the law doesn't say that you have to go before them every term.
Well, we're very willing.
You may want to talk Monday night till Mr. White, if he's here, that, and then let him be aware of it, because his office is the one that actually sets the times for the people to go for the grand jury.
Good point. Point well taken. Thank you.
And we certainly working on making sure that we present back to the grand jury.
Right.
That we address these issues. Financial report.
Okay, good. Starting with the cover page, this is the report for the period ending December 31st. Half of the fiscal year has passed. Moving on to the next page, where outstanding debt. We will start by looking at the report there. Since the last report, we have reduced our debt by $35,000, making payments on 2 of our GFA loans, leaving our current balance at $5.2 million. And then you can see we also have that obligated debt as well on the water lines we're talking about, And Mr. Chairman, one request I might make on the outstanding debt, it might be more meaningful if we only give that report on a quarterly basis. It moves incrementally, slowly, and it might have more impact if we talk about it quarterly. So that would be a suggestion that I would have. Of course, the information is available to you anytime. But okay, turning the page, looking at cash balance. Cash is strong this time of year. In fact, cash increased in all 4 of our funds since our last month's report. We have $5.3 million in general fund cash and almost $7.5 million in total cash. Now on that same sheet, general fund revenues, you can see that the total collections are at 72%, and and that is due in large part to the property tax collections, which don't show up specifically on this chart, but tax collections as of December 31st were at 87%. Okay, turning the page, looking at general fund expenses. General fund expenses are also in good shape at 54%, and you can see down at the bottom of the page, leaving us with a positive net income of $2.1 million for the fiscal year after 6 months. The 911 fund, E911 fund charges are in good shape at 48%. You can see at the very top of their charges at 48%. Of course, no transfers have been made into the fund. E911 expenses are also in good shape at 52%. Moving down to the water fund. Water fund revenues are at 66%, due in large part to GFA funds that we've been able to use to expand our water system. Expenses are in good shape at 51%, leaving a positive net income for the water fund of $198,000, and that is without any transfers. Turning the page to look at the solid waste fund, looking at user fees. User fees continue to be low at 32%. But the impact of that is lessened because our expenses are low also at 36%. We're not receiving as much trash, garbage, so we're not having to dispose of as much. So that's sort of what's going on there. Looking at a summary of all 4 of the funds, you will see that the total revenues are at 69%, and total expenses are at 53%, leaving us with a positive net income of $2.1 million for the fiscal year. So I think a good report for the December period.
Billy, I just want to take this opportunity. I know Bobby doesn't like to be pointed out, but I'm going to put him on the spot here in a positive way. There are many counties that once their collections have ended, that they don't come up with anywhere close to the percentage that we currently have. If you'll go back and look statistically, Franklin County is in the top tier of counties on an annual basis as far as their collection rates. So we appreciate our tax commissioner and staff for your diligent efforts. Thank you very much.
Sure, appreciate that. All right, the next item is the tax assessor board. We'll be in discussion of that probably Monday night with the tax assessor board, looking at funding on that. Deep well, water wells. Mr. Lockwood, if you come up, please. Well, I appreciate you coming.
I sent y'all all a letter about a week and a half ago, and I'd just like to know if y'all had time to look at it and read it. I had a few questions in here, and I'd like for y'all I'd like to know, is there a possibility of buying water from me or not?
There's definitely an interest, but to be honest, I was not even aware of the prospect of utilizing that well until it was brought up at our last meeting.
I've had a file in the county since 2008. All the information I sent y'all, John Phillips has. I actually made copies from his file.
Well, I mean, after reading your letter, you know, I would say, provided there's not any more surprises, that we've had a well drilled in 2000, I mean, I think that you should be prioritized if we need any more water. I mean, I definitely think that, do we have like a list that, I mean, I guess I'm asking, how did this get by us? Because there was somebody in Bone Springs wanting to do a well, and then when Aubrey already had this, you know, that's kind of we need, and I would think the water department would y'all be able to keep up with the wells that we have, or is that something that John needs to keep up with, or, I mean, we need a go-to person.
When you say keep up with, you mean a
Well,
list?
a list,
or-
I mean, like, you know, the
Perspective wells,
Referral.
because I mean, ultimately,
nobody up here, I didn't know that already
I mean,
had one.
I didn't either, but I mean,
And then we were gonna, you know,
before any contract is entered into, I mean, it has to come before the board, and we have to be made aware to ultimately make a decision, and that's definitely gonna be based on staff's recommendation as far as the feasibility.
And to answer your question, Commissioner Harper, we actually, I think we have that list as far as wells. There's been a number of wells that we've evaluated that for one reason or the other did not meet the state criteria. Right. And those will, of course, drop off the list.
sure.
Mr. Lunsford's well, we looked at, like he said, back some time ago, and I don't remember the exact date. It was pretty much the response then, same as we've given a lot of these more recent wells, and that is, right now, we can pump a lot more water out of the ground than we're selling.
Right.
But if and when the county gets to the point where we need water, it's always been my opinion, we need as many potential sources as we can have. Because
Sure.
one day we're gonna need those.
Sure.
But is there gonna be a list of how it goes down?
Well, that's what it should, we should have a priority list, and I know that there's a lot of variables in that.
Right.
And
Where you are in the system.
Right.
I think we are talking also about where is that well located in the county.
Right.
These are all factors that play into that decision.
I believe John's working on some criteria, how we'll go about doing that.
That's good.
And keep building in the criteria, how we go about that. And to answer your questions, yes, we're very interested. You go ahead and fill out the proper form. And we'll certainly have something concrete. Okay?
There's always an interest on our part, when you can buy water at a significantly reduced rate.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, ma'am.
I know a single-family dwelling in Carnesville that when he first had his well dug, that they told him he could handle 2 communities. He's pumping so much water. And this was like 12 years ago.
Right.
And his only concern is there's been talk about the UN and President Obama putting meters on, and we have a deep water wells, and so it concerns us. He would not want that on his well. Has that reached your table of concern?
No, ma'am.
No.
Well, it is real, and it's already happened in, I think it was South Carolina, it's already happened.
Okay.
So that is a concern. Would the county have any control over that? And do they hear of any ripples like that? Because it is happening. So that's a concern. My brother knows this family or this person. So like I said, it's a single house, one person that owns this well. And that's his main concern. He doesn't want the UN coming on his property and doing anything.
Right.
We don't either.
Okay.
And we'll deal with that.
Okay. Can you look into that and get back with us? Oh, yeah. Because I want to know if it's going to affect us in this county. If it's already happening up north.
I don't imagine they've gotten around to Franklin County yet.
No, I know, but the research will tell you what's going on in
We
other.
should be able to find out if they're looking to do that in Franklin County.
Because this would really be a great resource. It is in Carnesville, it's off of 79. Anyway, he won't submit his name or his will until he has some clearance on the other issue.
I got you.
Okay.
All right, let's look at our road list. In your package, you have the road list, Bill.
Yes, sir. I think we provided you with 3 lists for your consideration based on our appeal to the citizens to provide us with information on roads they would like to see improvements and work done to. We provided you that list of several roads. We have also provided you with a list of roads for potential asphalt resurfacing. And then the third list is a list of roads that we are recommending for surface treatment resurfacing. So we're prepared to talk about that if you would like.
Any comments, Commissioner?
Hitman Road, is that a county road?
Which I'm sorry?
Which list?
Pittman Road?
I have a question mark by that. I do not think that is a county road.
I don't think so.
Without saying definitely, I
Yeah.
probably do want to do a little more research, but I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
And Tigger Ridge, I don't believe that's a county road either.
Right, so we need to look closely at that.
Can I ask a question about the road list? Do you have a list of roads that you are going to pave the next year, or 5 years, or 10 years? We've only been 19, 20 years trying to get this paved.
Sure.
And we've been promised and promised and promised.
Right.
And they paved, supposedly they were supposed to do our whole subdivision, and they stopped after 2 roads and never did get up to our road.
Right.
And
Well, to answer your
I just
question-
wonder what your plan is.
Well, the plan is to take the areas where we have
I
difficulty.
can't hear you.
The plan is to look at the roads that we've got problems with, then set the priorities and start working on those roads. But if you asked him for a timetable, I can't give you one tonight.
Well, I mean, I've only been waiting 19 years, so I guess I'll probably be in heaven before you get around to it.
No. I can promise you that, unless you fall in tonight.
Streets of gold. Well, streets of gold then, what about paving?
I'll be walking on the road paved with gold.
There you go.
Billy, how do you get on that list? I mean, how does she know she's on the list?
Yeah, well, basically, I think the process we're going through, of course, we have folks call us, but it's staff recommendations, and then the commission would approve that list, and then we'd make that list available to the public and, for comments, that sort of thing.
Can I ask you if a particular road is on that list?
Sure.
Tell me the road.
No,
Oh,
not
to-
very much.
Fisherman, oh,
Oakwood.
To be paved. Now, I don't have a list for dirt roads to be paved.
Okay.
That's what you're
I'm
asking
talking
for.
about.
We do not have a list for those.
So is Oakwood off of Fisherman's Cove?
Yes.
Right there as you cross
Very-
over the bridge
very
on
close.
328? Take the
Yes.
left on Fisherman's Cove,
Yes.
then it goes back down. Does it make a circle back down in there?
Yes.
They were supposed to do our road in Pinehurst when they did those 2 roads.
While they were there.
But
Yes.
they didn't do it.
Many years ago.
So, it's a old promise. So, anyway.
Any other discussion about road? Yes, sir.
I have a question. On these lists that you've prepared there, are there any roads that are not county roads on those lists when there are other county roads that aren't?
No, not on the resurfacing, not on the list to be resurfaced and so forth. That's correct.
Good, thank you.
No.
You're correct. Okay, next on the list,
Mr. Bridges,
Yes, sir.
before you, if I might address the board, we had a situation in our office where we developed a leak in one of our exterior walls.
Right.
And I just want to commend the county staff, Billy and John and Ralph. Those guys have been great. City of Carnesville, along with the county and excavator to move the dirt with. And the quality of work has been super. And I just want to commend these guys. We have some valuable assets there. And I don't have a lot of interaction with the road department and those guys, but they've been wonderful. I just wanted to interject that.
appreciate that comment.
I do too, thank you, Bill.
I echo that, appreciate the good work y'all did. You could see it when you drive around Mr. Martin's office there.
Wow.
That's good.
While we're talking about the roads, I want to, for the way they work the roads up in District 1,
Okay.
they're doing a super job. Pull some ditches, got a lot of the dirt roads up in District 1 looking good.
I had an individual stop me at the chamber meeting at lunchtime and make the same comment. I want to tell you, he said, I want to tell you how good the road department is doing on my road. So it's always good to get good positive comments.
Yeah.
I'm glad my brother met up with you.
Okay, I believe the next thing on the list is executive session, and we'll be dealing with personnel issues and attorney-client privilege. So,
Can I clarify that? You won't really be dealing with attorney-client privilege because your attorney won't be here, so you're
That's
dealing with a
correct.
personnel matter.
we're gonna drop that.
Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion to go out of our work session?
We do.
Okay, at this time,